The American Bar Association is insistent that law schools meet an undefined standard of diversity. They won't tell you exactly what it is, but if they don't like how many, especially African American students, they will threaten your accreditation, which they in fact did to my law school about 20 years ago, which is why I got interested in the question. The other thing that's special about law schools is that for students to become lawyers, they actually have to pass the bar. So it's not enough to say, well, they benefit from being around other students who are more ambitious, or the name of the law school is, may help their ultimate career even if they don't do especially well at law school. They actually have to pass the bar exam. A third thing that's unique about law schools, or maybe it's not unique, but I know it's true of law schools, is that every law school pretty much knows if you have a score of X or below on the LSAT, you are very unlikely to pass the bar. Rick Sander just came out with a paper about this at a few law schools, but I was aware of this because when I wrote an op-ed about this for the Wall Street Journal, I got all these messages from deans and whatnot. Don't tell people that I told you this, don't quote me, but, and in other words, there's, if you're at a law school where your median LSAT is, let's say 160, the kids who get 162 or 163, they're passing at 98%. Maybe the 156s and 157s are passing at 94%. Still great. But then there's some inflection point, let's say 153, where if you get below that, 80% of the students are failing the bar. Everyone knows this, and the ABA's reaction to this, if you tell them, if we meet your goals, the only way to do that is to take in the under 153s, they're all going to fail the bar. The ABA says, we don't care, do it anyway. And I was on a panel in front of the U.S. Civil Rights Commission. At the end of the panel discussion, the commissioners asked if there's anything else I would like to add. I said, I don't want to add anything, but my colleague here is from the ABA. Ask him this question. Does the ABA, when they're measuring diversity outcomes, only measure inputs, or do they care and check how well the students do once they're in, how many actually graduate law school, and how many pass the bar? And he acknowledged very explicitly, we don't care about anything but admissions.
Right. So why is this important? Well, especially with the conversation of student debt in America and another conversation from the left where they say that education is a human right. It is important to tackle both of them. So the first of all, education is a human right. I do not believe that human rights work that way. For something to be a human right, you need to be born with it. So if you are born with it, it means that someone could potentially take it away from you, but it's illegal to do so. So for instance, the right to free speech. Like you're born with the ability to speak and to articulate your thoughts, but someone else can take it away from you. The ability to have bodily integrity. Well, you are born with it and someone else can take it away from you. You're not born with an education, right? So people can't take that away from you. But the communists are the first one that came with the concept of education as a human right, which is basically a privilege, so we can address that. When the communists came up with it, they wanted the peasantry to be able to read and write. That was what education meant. To know how to read something, to know how to write something, that was it. But I guess with time, education has included even university, which it is called in Europe faculty because it's facultative. It means that it's something extra, right? So when people came up with the concept, even the originators of education as a human right, they never thought about the fact that a human is going to have to study for 25 years of his life, and that every single person on earth needs to study for 25 years, okay? Like, that is ridiculous. Obviously, university is something extra only for a selected few, and this is why you have these tests. This is why you need to pass the bar and whatnot, is to select the ones that actually studied from the ones that didn't. And because you have to pay such a huge amount in order to get to university and you have to make these loans, it is predatory in a way that if people know that an individual is not going to make it to the university, that they are going to be given a loan anyway that then they have to repay. I mean, let's put it this way. Let's say you have a business that people are very certain that you are going to fail at that business. Like, you want to sell ice to the Eskimos, you want to sell sand to the Saudi Arabians, you want to sell oppression to the communists. Like, people know that your business isn't feasible and chances are it's not going to work. I mean, maybe you can somehow manage to get it to work, but it's so unlikely that they're not going to give you that loan. But for some reason, I hear this and it's absolutely disgusting. Like, you know that these people aren't going to pass the exam, and yet you're going to take them in anyway. You're going to waste the time of not only the students who could dedicate their time to a different craft, but you're also taking away the spot from someone that is worthy and should be able to get in. And of course, like the person that got in is now with a crippling debt that follows them for their entire life. It is unbelievably disgusting. We have a similar system here in Romania, but it's differently. Like, we do have the race-based quotas as well, although they're incredibly corrupt, and usually the people that get in are the ones that have connections to the party in power, or they have connections with activists and whatnot. But we have a different system that is not based on race. It is based on poverty. So if you happen to get really good grades, but for whatever reasons you're poor, then you can get in. And as long as you maintain having good grades, then you are promoted. So this system encourages learning, encourages studying, and I believe it's more fair. I had a colleague in my University of Medicine which had both of his parents die in a car crash. And can you imagine? Like, one day you talk with your parents, this morning they go shopping, and then you get a phone call saying that they're never coming back. I mean, put yourself in that situation. Horrible, right? Not to mention, the guy was living off his parents' income because he was a university student, so he didn't have a job yet. And because we have this system, because, he was a straight A student, and because we have this system which allowed him to continue studying, well, he managed to finish university and now he's a good doctor. But without the system, if it was a race-based system, nothing would have helped him in that situation. And, the Romania would have been at a loss because apparently he's a really good doctor. He has to be, I guess. Like, when you get such news and you realize, oh shit, like, this university is the only thing I got. If I don't manage to get good grades, then I'm going to end up on the streets. And meanwhile, other of his colleagues were partying, clubbing, doing all sorts of things besides studying. But yeah, so this is something that's never addressed. And I do believe that it needs to get more into the public consciousness, because simply getting in a place doesn't necessarily mean that you're going to pass the bar. Of course, the progressive solution, I bet, is going to lower the bar exam, lower the difficulty. They did this in the military with the Marines. Like, when they initially decided to start allowing more women in the military, they noticed that they couldn't perform the standardized test. So they were like, oh, well, the test must be sexist, so let's lower the test. There was another human rights case court in Canada where I think there was a person of a minority origin that didn't pass engineering exam. So the court said, well, the engineering exam is too hard. You need to lower it. So it is possible, but unfortunately, if you do that, eventually one of these people is going to need a lawyer. Or one of these people may be a victim of a crime. And hopefully the prosecutor is going to be knowledgeable enough to be able to convict the person rather than, well, what do I care? Left is caring about crime. What do I even talk about? Preaching to the choir here. Let me know what you guys think. And as usual, I will see you in the comment section. Take care.